jumping in front like some Piccolo Gohan shit. And he starts heating up. And I'm like, okay, Paul, it's time. Let's go. He's letting out some lane power. What you finna do? Paul? Paul! What are you looking at? Say something! Ash was so shocked he had to take over the ship himself and started instructing Chimchar. And within 5 minutes through controlling both those Pokemon, he really clutched the 1v2. Chimchar couldn't even really enjoy the dub, cause look, his trainer was pissed. But it wasn't just regular old disappointment this time. The next scene is Paul releasing Chimchar. Can somebody tell this nigga they won the battle and Chimchar got a knockout, injured? But that's just who Paul was. In his eyes, this Pokemon was nothing but a stupid, weak, pathetic, worthless monkey.
Hey Chimchar, come with us!
And this, ladies and gentlemen, marks the turning point in our story. Chimchar joins our hero, Ash, and Paul leaves them with a few parting words.
You deserve each other. You're both pathetic.
I gotta stop giving this nigga the mic, bruh. So Chimchar's new era with Ash was full of growth. Their first battle was actually the finals of the tag team tournament, which they actually won with Paul. A little bit awkward, but whatever. And by the way, if Paul's insanity wasn't clear enough, peep this. The prize for winning the tournament was a Soothe Bell, an item that does nothing but increase a Pokemon's happiness. That's it. And this nigga gave it to Ash. This brother is evil, I'm trying to tell y'all. He said happiness makes Pokemon slackers and I can't afford a slacker. This dude is in the wrong universe, nigga. Take your ass to Pal World. Now you may be thinking, everything's peachy now, but nah. Cause even though Chimchar's in a better situation, it doesn't erase the mounting trauma. Did you know that this man was scared to eat his food cause this nigga Paul had him eating out of a can? Once he had that delicious Brock meal in front of him, he didn't even know how to act. A meal? And I could enjoy it? This can't be. This chimp was like an outside spectator to the way Ash and his friends lived their life. While Ash was training with his Weasel and Pikachu, Weasel got hit with a mean Iron Tail. Brock then called the match and saluted both Pokemon like good shit, good shit. Chimchar's like good shit, but he's not bleeding. Paul would have hit me with a Hyper Beam or something at that point. This man's shocked at simple sportsmanship. Chimchar can't help but think back to the time he dared celebrate beating his Elekid. Ain't shit to celebrate, little bitch. You laughing a lot for a nigga who can't get that blaze shit down. Shut the fuck up. Damn. Bro was so traumatized that he lost a training match against Piplup and started tripping. Please don't release me, bro. Please. I can't go back to the wild. Those Zangoos go get me. To his surprise, not just Ash, but everyone started praising him for doing a good job against the water type. Dawn, Brock, and all their Pokemon joined in, and bro was just overwhelmed. Like, damn, who could've onions? For the first time, he could show weakness. A great step in the right direction, but there's still a long way to go for Chimchar to cover. Cause later that night, this nigga Paul even infiltrated Chimchar's dreams. He had a nightmare where he was battling Graveler and the Graveler used a super effective move. Paul told him to tank it just to try and force Blaze. Then his nightmare morphed the Gravelers into Zangoose. That shit woke him up in the middle of the night and he must have been thinking, damn, this nigga living in my shit rent free. Chimchar decides to go on a walk to Clear's Head where he runs into none other than Meowth, who got separated from Team Rocket. This dude actually gave Chimchar some good advice. He tells him, Chimchar, you gotta keep your head up. Can't live your whole life being a pussy. Unless you're a cat like me. Meowth, that's right. Tomorrow's the first day of the rest of your life, and it's never too late to let go of your past trauma. Cherish these new people who care about you, especially the twerp. Damn, Meowth, you talking to me at this point? I'ma cherish y'all, man, so how about you cherish that subscribe button? Yeah. The next day, Team Rocket pulls up on the gang while Ash and Chimchar are going to collect water and just capture everyone. But this wasn't your average Team Rocket heist. Now, if you're a real Pokemon nerd, you'll know the craziest beef in Pokemon history. Of course, I'm talking about Groudon versus Seviper versus Zangoose. Jesse, you may remember, had a Seviper. Can you see where this is going? 3 Zangoose pull up out of nowhere and try to jump Jesse's Seviper. Ash and Chimchar pull up, and Chimchar is now in a situation where he's the only one that can save them. And naturally, his PTSD caused him to start freezing up. Not only because he got jumped by Zangoose in the past, but also because if Paul was here, he'd see this as a prime opportunity to get that Blaze out. But we're in a new era because Ash comforts Chimchar with what he's been begging to hear.
Listen, Chimchar, don't worry about Blaze.
Thank God, bruh. Now watch me cook. Boom, just like that. One trauma obliterated, but one very real purple-haired bitch trauma to go. The Get Back. Now this isn't the greatest healing story in Pokemon, even though it kinda is. This is the greatest revenge story in Pokemon, and Paul, like most fears, isn't just gonna disappear. And that nigga deserves revenge. But before the grand show that we all know and love, there were 2 other instances where Chimchar got to battle his ex-owner. The first comes as Ash runs into Paul training in the forest, and look at my man Chimchar. This nigga is scared shitless. These 2 just get straight to talking shit. The gist of it is, how many gym badges you got, Paul? Ain't you enter a contest recently? Like those dance recital shits? Why is a ballerina asking me about badges? Nigga, we did a whole tag team contest together. What you talking about? Yeah, but at least I won that shit. You ain't win that contest, showing that I carried your weak ass. Yo ass quit battling in the finals. Bitch ass nigga say what? What? Bitch ass nigga. Alright bro, fuck the long talk. Let's battle. Yeah, don't waste my time, little nigga. At battles, bitch. Oh, well, if it isn't the monkey. Alright, 3-on-3 it is. So we'll get to Chimchar in a second, but this just pissed me off. Ash chooses Gligar in his first battle ever, by the way, and Paul, being a flexing jackass, sends out Gliscor just to stun. And after Ash uses Sand Attack to lower Gliscor's accuracy, and he responds with Guillotine, an instant KO move with low accuracy, Ash decides to look at this entire accuracy situation Paul is in, and instead of dodging, tries to defend it head-on with Steel Wing. And it ended how you'd expect it to. An instant knockout. Stupid decision, but not what I'm mad at. Paul starts barking to Ash after saying,
Now might be the perfect time to let your Gligar know that a loss is the trainer's fault.
where was this energy for Chimchar? These ain't your fault? Anyways, the next battle is Ursaring versus Chimchar. Ursaring is a demon. Bro was not pulling any punches, and Chimchar was feeling it. I'm talking, this dude caught a Chimchar flame wheel and used secret power, which caused Chimchar to flinch. And do you know what this nigga Paul said? You sure it's the secret power that's got you scared, or you just a bitch? Okay, not exactly like that, but basically. Ursaring goes for a hammer arm from the top ropes, and the Chimchar is just paralyzed with fear and gets
Meet Meryl, your AI voiceover revolution.
Catch every one of Ash's Pokemon in their correct form and use only these Pokemon to become the Alolan champion. With a ton of extra restrictions on top to make this challenge even harder, could Ash become the champion? Well, let's find out. We pick our character from this fine selection and name myself Ash. Alright Pikachu, let's begin. Ash Ketchum was the first Alolan champion, but could Ash also beat the Alolan video games, which are probably the hardest in the series? To find out, I'll be playing Pokemon Ultra Sun as Ash Ketchum. This means using only Ash's Pokemon, and to make things spicy, using only the moves that Ash's Pokemon used in the anime. In this challenge, I have two basic goals. Catch every one of Ash's Pokemon in their correct form, and use only these Pokemon to become the Alolan champion. With a ton of extra restrictions on top to make this challenge even harder, could Ash become the champion? Well, let's find out. We pick our character from this fine selection and name myself Ash. Alright Pikachu, let's begin the challenge. Fine, be like that. There are a ton of Ash's Pokemon that can be found in Ultra Sun, so let me know in the comments which is your favorite Pokemon of Ash's, and I'll give you my answer when we finally catch it. After our mum is done flirting with our cat, it's time to get our starter Pokemon. This is an important choice because Ash had both a Rowlet and a Litten. As much as I love Rowlet's 360 trick shots, Ash never evolved his. On the other hand, Ash's Litten was fully evolved, so that's who I'll be taking for this challenge. I love Litten's whole backstory with Stoutland, and who can say no to an adorable kitten? Just, please don't ember me in the face. With our first Pokemon secured, now our journey can begin. Of the three moves that Litten knows, we can use Ember and Scratch, but not Growl, as Ash's Litten never used this in the anime. This restriction is going to make the challenge way harder. We meet our rival, Hau, who picks Rowlet as his starter. Poor Poplio never gets any love. Now we have our first battle with Hau, and geez, that was pathetic. I'm glad I didn't pick that thing. Our Litten decimates Rowlet with a few embers, and to thank Litten for its hard work, I spent way too long petting it. 1 like equals 1 head scratch for Litten. Moving on, we meet Lily and poor Nebby, who's being ambushed by a gang of Spearow. I'm sure Ash knows exactly how that feels. After trying to save Nebby, it thanks us by tossing us off a bridge? Luckily, we're saved by Tapu Koko, but thanks for nothing, jerk. After Kukui gives us some Pokeballs, we can catch our first Pokemon, Caterpie, the poster child of weak early game bugs, who was also Ash's first catch in the anime, which is a nice coincidence. Although the only damaging move we can use with it is Tackle, so yeah, pretty garbage. After Litten crushes Hau with a few more embers, the Island Kahuna hands us a Z Power Ring. While Ash does use a few Z moves, I'll be banning them entirely just to make this challenge even harder on myself. The Island Challenge is undertaken by all children of 11 years of age, but I'm only 10, and I have been for the last 20 years. Ash's greatest challenge: becoming 11. Now, you might think that the early game is easy. Wrong, because at the trainer school, I have to take on a demonic Bonsly. None of my attacking moves are effective against rock Pokemon, and this trainer uses a potion like a coward. With a little bad luck, my whole team was decimated by a baby Bonsly. Yikes. This challenge had not started well. If we couldn't even beat a Bonsly, how on earth would we stand a chance against a Super Saiyan Ultra Necrozma? Our hopes of becoming the Alolan champion started to feel very bleak. Although, in our rematch with the stupid baby rock, we got a lucky burn, which made things much smoother this time around. Ash Ketchum, please report to my office. What terrible thing did you do to get called to the office so soon? That Bonsly's legs were already broken. Our next battle is against the trainer school final boss, Emily. Thing is, I forgot to heal, and to make things worse, Emily uses a Poplio. This did not go well. Wow, your Pokemon are dead again. That's gotta be a record. Just fix my cat already. Now might be a good time to mention that I have never played Ultra Sun or Moon, making this challenge way harder. Anyway, it was clear that my team needed a boost if we were going to beat Emily. So I headed down to the beach and did some training. This allowed my Slug to evolve into a Metapod and then into a Butterfree. Now with a powerful Butterfly on my team, this time things would be different. This time, I still lost? This teacher keeps taking my money. How is that allowed? All I can do is tackle with Butterfree and scratch with Litten, but at least it was really close. So I challenged Emily one more time and finally things went my way. Because this time, Litten got a critical hit, just surviving a water gun before barely giving us a win with the second scratch. A Tauros, eh? Let's grab its tail. Lesson learned, Tauros do not like that. Now we can enter Howley City, and I tried to make my character look like Ash, but this was the best I could do. Here we meet Team Skull, and at the very least, I respect the moves they bust out. Soon after, we have another tough battle, this time against Captain Ilima. And oh my god, I can't catch a break. This coward crit me twice, once again causing my whole team to get destroyed. I tried several times, but just kept getting slapped around. We just don't have many options this early on in the challenge, but it wouldn't be a real Ash run if we didn't spend most of the season getting destroyed. Alright, that's it. No more taking it easy. It's time to activate the big brain strats. Once Butterfree gets to level 13, it learns Sleep Powder and Stun Spore. Combine these with its Compound Eyes ability, and we've got a status-inflicting machine. This time against Ilima, now I have a whole assortment of cheeses in my arsenal. Butterfree can land a Sleep Powder to tuck Yungoos into bed. Then while it's asleep, Butterfree can use these turns to raise its defense with Harden. When Yungoos wakes up, we just put it right back to bed. Once my Butterfree is at maximum hardness with +6 defense, now we can start slowly chipping away with Tackle. Since Yungoos only knows physical moves, we can tank its attacks really well now, eventually taking it out with a string of tackle attacks. This brings out the artist formerly known as Smeagol, who, importantly, knows Water Gun to counter our Litten, but I can still use my cheesy sleep strategy, attacking Smeagol while it's snoring. Is this cheesy? Absolutely, but I'm tired of losing, damn it. This strategy helps me to bring Smeagol all the way to low health. Butterfree does eventually fall, but at this range, Litten can come in and clean things up with an Ember, finally giving us the win over Captain Ilima. Honestly, I was doubting whether this challenge was even possible because I was already struggling really hard. But I wasn't going to give up yet and kept pressing onwards. Now we reach Route 2, and it's here that we can get our next encounter by using the Island Scan feature. This gimmick basically involves scanning QR codes to get points, just like this one on screen. I dare you to scan it. You probably won't. You're too scared to see the hidden glory of what's behind it. Anyway, using the island scan lets us find a wild Bulbasaur, which is awesome, although this little guy did not want to get in the ball. Seriously, I blew through nearly all of my balls trying to catch it. But eventually, I got lucky enough to catch the glorified houseplant, and Bulbasaur was added to the roster. Down on the beach, Team Skull are trying to steal a Mantine through the power of dance? So, Litten teaches them a lesson by tearing through their Drowsy with Fire Fang, a new move that we can actually use. And the weirdos just keep on coming, because right after that, we find these space cyclists? But what's even better than space cyclists is that we can get a Howlucha by trading with a girl in this Pokemon Center. I definitely feel like we got the better end of that trade. Howlucha is a true Sigma Chad Pokemon. We'll only be able to use Karate Chop on it for now, but still, Howlucha is a beast to have this early on. Now we take on our first trial. Trials basically replace gyms in Alola. There are 8 trials, as well as 4 grand trials, consisting of battles against the Island Kahunas. The timing of getting our Howlucha couldn't be better, as this trial has us take on a Totem Gumshoos. Totem Pokemon are strong and get their stats buffed, as well as call in ally Pokemon to make it a 2-on-1. These will be incredibly difficult in this challenge, but this one is a different story. Since Gumshoos is a normal type, our Howlucha can break it in half with a few karate chops for a quick win in our first trial. This means we can find Ash's next Pokemon, Noibat. Ash's Noibat has big ears, but a very small move pool. It can only use Tackle and Supersonic, so it's pretty much useless. But the catches don't stop there, because just up ahead on Route 3, we can use Island Scan to find Charmander, one of Ash's iconic Pokemon who has an incredible moveset. Although making sure that it actually listens to Ash is another issue entirely. Also, on Route 3, we can find a Mankey. While Ash did catch a Mankey that almost ripped his face off, by the time he caught it, Mankey had already evolved into a Primeape, so we won't be able to catch this brawling monkey. Just up ahead, we have to help Lily find her missing Cosmog. Yeah, that jerk who tried to kill me earlier. We rescue Nebby and brutally shove it back in the bag before Hal forces us into a rematch. Litton's able to Fire Fang his first 2 Pokemon without much trouble, but his third slot is a Pikachu. Excuse me? That's my ace Pokemon. Who do you think you are? My lawyers will be in touch. Anyway, Bulbasaur slaps that sorry excuse of a Pikachu across the face with a few Vine Whips, giving Ash the win. Now Bulbasaur can finally evolve. Except Ash's Bulbasaur never evolved, so neither can mine. I guess you'll never know the joys of full bloom. We already have 2 Kanto starters, but now it's time to get the third, because in the Seaward Cave, we can Island Scan our way to a Squirtle. This is huge for me, since Squirtle is probably my favorite Pokemon of Ash's. Just look at this guy and tell me this isn't the coolest Pokemon. Look at the shades. This is my boy right here. Oh no, a trainer! What will I do? Our next battle is going to be a tough one because we have to take on our first grand trial against the Island Kahuna. He has 3 powerful Pokemon, and under the rules of this challenge, I can only bring 3 Pokemon to battle with. His fighting types hit hard, so I've got to carefully decide which of these 3 Pokemon I want to bring. While preparing, our Charmander evolved into a Charmeleon. But don't you even think about evolving. It's the Squirtle Squad, not the Wartortle regime. Ultimately, this is the team I decided on. So, we charged up the mountain, ready to face Hala. He leads with Machop, who only knows fighting moves. I take advantage of this by sending out Howlucha, who resists fighting attacks thanks to its secondary flying type. All I can do is spam Karate Chop, but this is fine, as 3 of these clean up Machop. I then kept doing the same thing to Makuhita. It looked like Howlucha was about to go down, but absolutely clutched up to survive an arm thrust on just 1 HP. I told you Howlucha was a Chad. This extra turn allows me to finish Makuhita, bringing it down to a 3-on-1. But Crabrawler is tough, since it can sweep my whole team if it builds up momentum with Power-Up Punch. Hala decided to use his big, elaborate Z move to finish off my 1 HP Howlucha, which seems excessive, but whatever, go off king, I guess. Now I go with Butterfree and use Stun Spore to paralyze Crabrawler. This, combined with Butterfree's strong resistance to fighting moves, means I can slowly chip away with Tackle. I get Crabrawler into the yellow, but sadly Butterfree also goes down. Now it was a 1-on-1, Ash's Charmeleon against Hala's Crab. However, Butterfree set me up perfectly, because at this range, a single Dragon Rage is all I need to clean up Crabrawler, giving us a close win. With that, Ash had beaten the first grand trial. As a reward, now we can ride on Tauros, which is pretty cool, but Tauros can also break rocks, which gives us access to 10 Carrot Hill. In the cave, we can find Ash's pet rock, Roggenrola. While here, we can also find another one of Ash's Pokemon, Rockruff. But there's a problem. To get the correct form of Lycanroc, we need a Rockruff with a special ability. Unfortunately, that ability is not currently obtainable in-game. However, you could get a Rockruff with the ability years ago as part of an online distribution. So, with a little mod magic time machine, I reactivated the mystery gift, meaning we can collect an official own tempo Rockruff just like Ash had. After taking some cute pics with our Pokemon, Lily asks us to help her with Nebby since it saved her life once before. Oh yeah? Well, it tried to end my life once before. Oh my god, Professor Oak, what happened to you? You look like you've been trapped in a tanning bed for years. Welcome to the world of Stop. We already did that. Oh, well, I guess you don't need me then. Ah, my back! Get off me! After hitting some sick combos on Mantine, we surfed all the way to our next destination, Akala Island. After stepping off the beach, we're confronted by Dexio and Cena from X and Y. Dexio forces us to battle, and I thought this would be pretty chill. Spoiler, it was not chill. I led with Squirtle, who was barely doing any damage to Mayim Jr., so I switched into Charmeleon, who thankfully finished it off. But here is where the trouble began, because now Dexio's Espeon is out, and this thing is a demon. Its stats are insane for this early on, and it ripped through my team one after another. I ended up being down to only Howlucha, who thankfully just tanked a Psybeam before landing the final blow, but that was way too close. This challenge is not getting any easier. Just off to the side of Route 4, we find Ash Ketchum Heaven, Pikachu Valley. Look at them all. I love this place, but they must go through a ton of ketchup. After Charmeleon rips How apart, our Litten finally evolved into Torracat. Look at the cute little bell. But this is where we hit a huge roadblock. At the ranch just up ahead, there's a tiny 5% chance to find a Tauros in the grass. The problem is that Ash didn't have a Tauros, he had 30 Tauros. But since I'm dedicated to this challenge, there was only one thing to do. Let me tell you, this was painful. I spent literally hours grinding in the grass, painstakingly hunting all 30 of these damn bulls. It took way too long, but after about 4 hours, I finally caught Tauros number 30, filling out a whole PC page. Now we can finally move on from that nightmare. Just up ahead on Route 5, we meet a new rival, Gladion, and oh my god, what in Frankenstein's monster is this abomination? Despite its appearance, Type Null is really strong, decimating Torracat with a few tackles. But our Howlucha has a strong matchup, so one Karate Chop is enough to wrap up the fight, giving us our first win over Gladion. What's even better though, is that on Route 5, we can island scan Ash's next Pokemon, Grovyle. I adore this guy, what an absolute icon. Problem is, for now, the only valid move it knows is Quick Attack, so I'll have to wait for Grovyle to get some better moves. For now, it's onwards to Brooklet Hill, where we have to take on our next trial. However, the totem boss is a monster. Araquanid is a powerhouse of a water type, and this battle takes place in the rain, boosting its water moves. Furthermore, its secondary bug type means it isn't weak to grass, and it can recover health with Leech Life. I was in way over my head and was severely punished, as one by one, Araquanid slaughtered my team. Yet another L. But on my next attempt, now I had a plan. Now things would be... Oh. Yep, I still lost. This was an awful matchup for my team, but I just needed a little bit of luck. On my third attempt, I led with Butterfree and Tanker boosted Bubble before paralyzing Araquanid with Stun Spore. It calls in an ally Dewpider, so I paralyzed that too. That's Butterfree's job done, as it goes down on the next turn. I go into Charmeleon next and land a huge Dragon Rage for more than half of Araquanid's HP. If Araquanid is paralyzed on this turn, we basically insta-win. But of course, my luck isn't that good. With Charmeleon going down, we really don't have any good options for dealing damage among my remaining Pokemon. I first send out my Pokemon that resist Bug, as this prevents the AI from using Leech Life, and I need to prevent Araquanid from recovering HP. Torracat does basically nothing, but Howlucha hits a crit Karate Chop, followed by 2 more thanks to some paralysis luck. This brought Araquanid to the brink of death by the time Howlucha went down. From here, it was up to our Bulbasaur, who thankfully lands a Razor Leaf, finally finishing Araquanid. Bulbasaur could then clean up the ally Dewpider, giving us a crazy win. Just like that, Ash had beaten the second trial. Moving on, we run into the Space Cyclists again, and this time they've got a Poipole. Damn it, I need one of those. After quickly moving through Route 6, we meet the Masked Royal, which is definitely not the Professor. We take part in a battle royale, but sadly couldn't get the epic victory royale since I was stuck bringing my walking lettuce. Why does this woman look like she's having a heated debate with a snow chicken? On the following route, we can catch Ash's next Pokemon, Fletchling. We certainly don't have a shortage of solid fire types. After climbing this literal volcano, we find Kiawe, the captain of our next trial. This trial's kind of fun. We have to tell the difference between two dances done by these Marowak. Honestly, this took me longer than I'd like to admit. But once that's done, we're ready for our next totem boss. At least, I wish we were ready, because once again, we got decimated. Marowak is insanely powerful, and it calls in an ally Salazzle, which is also tough. On top of that, my team is not equipped to deal with fire types. It was an absolute bloodbath. Back to the drawing board. Since our Howlucha can only use Karate Chop, it's useless against the Ghost type Alolan Marowak, and Bulbasaur just gets clapped instantly. So I benched those two and brought in our two Rock types, Roggenrola and Rockruff. And once each of these Pokemon reach level 25, Roggenrola evolves into Boldore, a slightly larger pet rock, and Rockruff becomes a Lycanroc. Sometimes he's happy, sometimes he's the definition of sheer anger. These new Pokemon don't have many moves, but they are powerful against fire types, so I charged back up the volcano for another try. I lead with Boldore, who tanks a Brick Break before firing off an absolute banger of a Rock Blast that hits 3 times, including a critical hit. This leaves Marowak on the brink of death as it calls in the ally Salazzle. Boldore does finally fall, but it did its job perfectly. It cleared the way for Lycanroc to come in on the next turn and clean up Marowak with a super effective Rock Throw. Now we only had to deal with Salazzle. Torracat did some damage with Scratch, but went down shortly after. Now it was time for our Squirtle Squad captain to make an appearance. Squirtle's Water Gun wasn't doing much. However, like an absolute champion, Squirtle tanked a second Venoshock on just 1 HP. This activated its Torrent ability, meaning our Water Guns were now supersized, and one more of these was enough to drown out Salazzle. Thank you, Squirtle Squad, you've done it again. That's the third trial conquered. After switching up our team and evolving my Fletchling into Fletchinder, it was time to press onward. Oh, that's Fiery MZ. Wait, what did you call me? Up ahead, we meet Colress, who furiously taps away at the buttons on his arm. He better be tapping the like and subscribe buttons while he's there. I'll put my hips into it when I take you on. Are we talking about golf or... Now that we've beaten the third trial, we can buy Adrenaline Orbs. These things make it possible to SOS chain. Similar to how Totem Pokemon can call in an ally, some wild Pokemon can do the same thing, although that ally can sometimes be a rare Pokemon. So at this point, I decided to backtrack and hunt some of those rare Pokemon.
School bells are ringing. It's time to get the perfect phone plan for your kids at half the price you're used to. Telomobile comes to rescue your family budget with the most flexible phone plans in the US. Need just talk and text for the little ones? No problem. Have a data-hungry teenager? Go for unlimited at just $25 a month. Easily upgrade individual lines and build a family plan that fits everyone's needs. Visit Tello.com and discover more.
For example, on Route 1, by SOS chaining on a wild Pichu, we eventually run into Ash's ace Pokemon Pikachu. Now, I could use this Pikachu, but there's one that's even more fitting. Remember the Rockruff mystery gift situation? Well, there was also a distribution for Ash's legit Pikachu that even has his hat. I think it's fitting for this run that we take Ash's real Pikachu. I mean, how could we say no to that adorable face? Back to SOS chaining, but now we had a monstrous task, Snorlax. This oath can only be found by chaining Munchlax. The worst part? There is only a 1% chance for a Munchlax to call Snorlax. This makes it a nightmare to find. I wasted hours chaining Munchlax, but had no luck whatsoever. What makes this even worse is that Munchlax recovers HP every turn with leftovers and paralyzes you with Lick, making the battles so slow. But after around 4 hours, my prayers to RNGesus were finally answered as God generously dropped a Snorlax in from the heavens. I was so careful when getting it low. After Bulbasaur put it to sleep, we had finally caught Ash's Snorlax. I just hope someone else is paying to feed this thing. My last catch for now can be found in the Howley shopping district, where we can SOS chain Mime Juniors until Ash's likely father, Mr. Mime, turns up. After catching Mimey, it was time to continue our journey. Now it's time for the grass trial, so I stacked my team with fire types. After collecting some ingredients, we do a bit of cooking. It's all done and it smells delicious. I would literally rather eat my Bulbasaur than this purple sludge. That disgusting concoction lures out the totem Pokemon Lurantis. It's a grass type and we have 3 fire types. Of course we win, right? I lead with Torracat, and my plan is just to spam flame charges. But this doesn't do too much damage, and Lurantis calls in an ally Kecleon. This is where I messed up, because I misclicked and accidentally targeted Kecleon with my next flame charge. I thought Kecleon was doing me a favor by setting up Sunny Day, boosting my fire-type moves. It was not, because this meant that Lurantis could heal up huge HP with Synthesis. To make things worse, Kecleon also knows Ancient Power, which rips my fire types to pieces. I kept on attacking Lurantis in hopes of draining its Synthesis PP, and while I was able to do this, I lost all of my fire types in the process. My remaining options weren't so hot, although Howlucha did get Lurantis low. Of all things, Butterfree was able to finish Lurantis with a few pitiful tackles, leaving only Kecleon. But we weren't out of the woods yet. As if I'd stolen something from its shop, Kecleon went wild, slapping both my remaining Butterfree and Bulbasaur to a pulp. Well, it wouldn't be an Ash run if we didn't constantly find a way to lose. Once again, I'd underestimated a trial, but with an upgraded team, I quickly returned for a rematch. The start of the fight goes pretty similar, although this time, I quickly take out Kecleon, losing only Torracat in the process. This causes Lurantis to call in another ally, Comfy. This little flower is so annoying. It uses support moves to buff Lurantis' defense, while also setting up the sun. The plus side is that it is completely passive, so after Howlucha falls, I bring in Charmeleon and keep spamming Embers until Lurantis runs out of Synthesis PP. From here, Charmeleon can finish it off with one final sun-boosted Ember. And since Comfy has no attacking moves, Charmeleon hands it a slow and fiery death from an onslaught of Embers. That's another trial completed by Ash, but these totem battles are getting tough. Alright, who wants more of my famous curry? Sorry, gotta go. Now we can explore the lush jungle, and by SOS chaining in the rain, we eventually find ourselves a Goomy. It's a fun-looking Pokemon, but its backstory is kinda brutal. Now, this is the part of the run I have been dreading, because here is where we can also find Noctowl. Except, Ash's Noctowl is a little special, because Ash's is shiny. Since this is the Ash run, and I'm a sucker for pain, I knew what I had to do. But first, we need to talk some numbers. We've had some painfully long grinds so far, but this thing is by far the worst. Noctowl can only be found by SOS chaining Hoot Hoot. I couldn't find exact numbers, but through some testing, it felt like Noctowl would be called in around 1 in 10 times. This is 5 times more common than Snorlax, but keep in mind that we need a shiny Noctowl. By having an SOS chain of more than 30, the shiny odds are increased to 1 in 315. Combining these numbers, the chance of a shiny Noctowl being called is 1 in 3,150. I know it's not an entirely accurate comparison, but to give you an idea of how insane this is, if it took me 4 hours to find a 1% Snorlax, that would imply that it would take me 126 hours to find a shiny Noctowl. To put that into perspective, if you shiny hunted every day for 8 hours, it would take you over 2 weeks. And honestly, I just don't have the time for that. So what can we do? Well, we could catch a regular Noctowl pretty quickly, but that would be kinda lame. Instead, I'm gonna make a small exception to the rule that I can't catch pre-evolutions. This means I'll still have to undertake a full-odds shiny hunt, and we'll end up with our golden owl, but just with a little Hoot Hoot action in the middle. So I got to work. Time slowly rolled by as I slaughtered owl after owl. I was hoping for a quick shiny hunt, but of course, my luck isn't good enough for that. I started to have some serious PTSD kick in, but all I could do was continue mercilessly crushing every single owl. Things were fine until I accidentally threw a heal ball and caught a non-shiny Hoot Hoot, breaking my SOS chain. I can't share my audio of the reaction to this, but it was a little something like this. As the hours rolled by, I felt my soul slowly leaving my body, until, after 5 hours, this happened. We got it! Yes! There it is. Oh, finally. Okay, we have to catch it. I can't screw this up. I cannot screw this up. It's so golden and beautiful. Okay, I need to bring in Butterfree. I need to hit the shiny with a status so that it won't chain. So let's Stun Spore. Let's tackle the non-shiny. Alright, now we just got to catch it. Please, 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 please. Come on, please. Please just stay in the ball. Please just make this easy. Please. Yes! Finally. Oh my god, what a grind. We finally got it. After leveling it up, our Hoot Hoot evolved into a glorious golden Noctowl. It's so beautiful. We had finally gotten our shiny owl after an exhausting grind. I lost a part of my soul doing that, but it'll all be worth it if you leave a like on the video. Unfortunately, it's not all good news. Since I was using Snorlax to chain, our boy slaughtered a lot of owls, and the XP from that pushed him way up to level 36. A little bit over the cap. So, as punishment for his sins, Snorlax will be locked up in the Slammer until we progress a bit further. With all that grinding taken care of, now it was time to move on. We visit the lab in Here Town, where they do all kinds of important scientific work. Gardevoir, Larpeny, no, Gardevoir, no, Larpeny. Anyway, with all 3 trials of this island completed, I sought out the island kahuna, Olivia. It's about time you had some fun with me. Alright Ash, play it cool. The day has finally... Let's have a Pokemon battle. Oh, yeah, Pokemon. My defenses are impenetrable. No one can escape my... Hey, wait, that's no fair. Now we've made it to Coney City, and we're told to meet Olivia in a place called Memorial Hill. Huh, I wonder what the memorial's for. Oh. Our next battle will be the Grand Trial, and this one is tough. Olivia uses 3 powerful rock types, and we don't have a whole lot of great options for dealing with her. After carefully thinking about it, these are the 3 Pokemon I decided to bring. I feel like it's a very Ash move to bring my rock type against a rock trainer. Olivia's Anorith lead is weak to rock due to its secondary bug type, although it outspeeds my Lycanroc and a Metal Claw does huge damage. I then fire back with a devastating rock throw, which falls just short of getting the KO. Olivia heals up with a super potion, and this is perfect for me as it doesn't quite heal Anorith all the way. This means that one more rock throw is enough to crush her bug. Next up is Lileep, and I expect a Giga Drain, so switch into Howlucha, who brushes it off. I then get to use my new, powerful move, Flying Press. This hits Lileep for enormous damage as a critical hit gives me an instant knockout. This leaves Olivia with only a Lycanroc of her own, but it can't do much to Howlucha, so a few Karate Chops crush Lycanroc, giving Ash a comfortable win over the second Grand Trial. Starmie is staring at you. With what? It has no eyes! We meet Lusamine at the Ether Paradise, and her hair defies all known laws of physics. After beating up a space jellyfish, because why not, we're off to our next destination, Ula Ula Island. But as soon as we step off the boat, Hal wants to battle, and he now has a Vaporeon. Which, did you know, in terms of human and female Pokemon... Nope, not going there. Later in the battle, Hal sends out, wait, you evolved your Pikachu? What a coward. Pathetic. In this house, we stand Pikachu. As punishment for his crime, we slap Hal around. Our team was really starting to come together. It is me, Hariyama. Subscribe to the channel or I will sit on you. Onwards to Route 10, and here we can find Eradicate. Yeah, Ash actually had one of these for like 1 episode. Except this one doesn't look like Ash's, because Ash had a Cantonian Eradicate which isn't obtainable here. So any Alolan forms of Ash's Kanto Pokemon will have to be skipped. Although a Pokemon we can catch here is Pidgeot through Island Scan. I feel so sorry for it because Pidgeot had to deal with Kanto Ash, being put in situations where it got sent out against Brock's Geodude and just getting slapped. At the end of Route 10, we find Team Skull, who are committing their biggest crime yet, stealing a bus stop sign. They've gone too far this time, damn it! I quickly thrash them about, saving the bus stop once and for all. After a short bus ride to the top of the mountain, it's time for our next trial. The trial captain is Sophocles, and at the very least, I can respect his Pikachu-inspired style. This trial is kinda fun, but I feel like Ash would struggle with anything that requires more than 1 brain cell. We have to assemble the Charger Bug into the human centipede formation to power some machines, but once that's done, we're clear to take on the totem Pokemon Togedemaru. Now look, Ash does not have a good record against totem Pokemon so far in this challenge, but I was determined to change that. The interesting thing about this fight is that Totem Togedemaru and the ally Skarmory are both physical attackers, so I lead with my Raging Bull, and Intimidate lowers their attack. By constantly pivoting around Tauros, I can continuously ram Intimidates onto their side of the field. After a few turns, both opposing Pokemon have their attacks lowered to -6. Now it's time for our fire types to shine. A barrage of Embers and Flame Charges from Torracat are enough to get both enemies low. It does go down in the process, however, this clears a path for Charmeleon. In this position, Charmeleon can quickly clean up both Pokemon, clearing the 5th trial. While our strategy was a little cheesy, I'm just glad to not get clapped by yet another totem boss. I feel like we've turned over a new leaf. From here on out, I won't be losing to a single totem boss ever again. Next up, we're ambushed by Guzma of Team Skull. He only has 2 Pokemon, but they are tough. His Golisopod destroyed my Noctowl, and Masquerain made light work of both Pikachu and Torracat. Thankfully, Lycanroc was able to exploit their weaknesses with a few rock throws, but that was way too close. Now on Route 11, we can get one of Ash's best Pokemon by island scanning up a Monferno. When this guy activates its Blaze ability, you know it's about to go down. But we're not done yet, because on the very next route, we find a Torkoal. I'm not crying, it's just raining on my face. A little further up, we catch up with Gladion, who urges us to keep Cosmog safe. It tried to kill me! Forget it! The catches just keep on coming, as soon after, we find a Snorunt, Ash's shivering little ice type. Now we're clear to take on our next trial, and while preparing, our Torracat made the nature-defying decision to stand up and evolve into an Incineroar. The cultured members of the audience will notice that Incineroar has a championship belt around its waist. Fun fact, that's because it holds the title of most annoying VGC Pokemon. The next trial focuses on Ghost-type Pokemon, which isn't great for me, so I've decided to bring these Pokemon with me. We've got to explore a haunted supermarket, but instead of finding any spooky specials, we find ghost Pokemon. And this is perfect for me, because one of those is Gengar, an ultra-rare Pokemon that we need for our Ash decks. Let me just grab my Pokeball and... oh, never mind then. Anyway, after busting some ghosts, we enter the boss room and... hey, wait a minute, that's me! Crazy stalker, I'll teach you a lesson. Remember when I said, from here on out, I won't be losing to a single totem boss ever again? Yeah, I'd like to retract that statement because I got teabagged in this fight. Totem Mimikyu has all of its stats raised, so it hits like a truck and it's super bulky. On top of that, Mimikyu's disguise ability also helps it soak up an attack. My Torkoal set up the sun with its drought ability, and I was hoping to do big damage with some sun-boosted flamethrowers, but with Mimikyu so cracked, none of my Pokemon stood a chance. It was an absolute bloodbath. On my next attempt, I tried to deal with Mimikyu by using Mimey to set up Reflect. However, our poor dad Mr. Mime got crushed instantly by a Shadow Claw, and as you can probably guess, the rest of the fight went the exact same as last time. Another big fat L. With my pride in the mud, it was time to lean forward in my chair and get a little sweaty. Since Mimikyu is a physical attacker, I picked up one of my bulls from down on the ranch and rebuilt my team. This time, things would be different. I lead with Tauros, who only knows Horn Attack, which doesn't hit ghost types. But Tauros's Intimidate is what I'm really after, lowering Mimikyu's attack. But here's the kicker. Mimikyu's Shadow Claw also can't hit Tauros, so I know it's going to use Play Rough. With that knowledge, I switch into Torkoal, who is super bulky and resists Fairy-type moves. So, against Torkoal, Mimikyu will Shadow Claw, and crucially, this lets us bring Tauros back out for free while also getting another Intimidate, further lowering Mimikyu's attack. Pivoting 101. These two really are the perfect couple here. We can take advantage of this to repeat the cycle over and over, gradually wearing Mimikyu down to -6 attack. It went from being the Grim Reaper to hardly being able to touch me. Just as we finish this process, Torkoal gets hit by Curse, which Banette took itself out with, but also left Torkoal on the brink of death. I really want to preserve Torkoal, so switch into Boldore. I use Rock Blast, as this hits multiple times, breaking Mimikyu's disguise, while also getting a little extra chip damage. A few of these brings Mimikyu to below half health, as it calls in the next ally Pokemon, Jellicent, the spooky jellyfish who destroys Boldore with a single water pulse. This is why I preserved Torkoal, as now I can bring it back in and reset the sun, reducing the power of Jellicent's water moves. Torkoal does go down instantly, but it did